Hello everyone, good afternoon, welcome to Archant Towers here on this Friday afternoon. It's been absolutely leathering it down outside, but the sun was out as well. Curious scenes. I'm with Paddy Davitt, of course. We're going to have a chat ahead of the game tomorrow. Leeds United, of course, coming to Carrow Road. We've been at Colney this afternoon, as you may well have seen on Twitter and Facebook, catching up with Daniel Farke. So, first of all, Pad, as a proper preview to the game, are you looking forward to this one? I'm quite... I guess Wednesday's win obviously helps, but it should be good in this.
Should be. It's got all the ingredients. Norwich with their tails up now, so not quite as much trepidation if they hadn't got a result. And Leeds, clearly from afar, seem to be getting something going. Very high-profile coach in charge. They'll have a big travelling support here, so the atmosphere should be crackling. So everything's set up, and you would like to think Norwich will give as good as they get.
It'd be good, wouldn't it? It would be good, because you say the amount of Leeds fans that will come down. I've already seen a tweet about extra police around just to help out. It's obviously akin to the way it goes sometimes. But and I guess the crowd would be an interesting one, wouldn't it? Because they were, let's be honest, it was kind of fractious at times, wasn't it, on Wednesday?
Very, yeah.
But now they've got that first win under the belts, and also the fact that they are coming up against a side who, let's be honest, if Leeds get it right, they should get promoted from this division. They're that big a club, they should be capable of that. There'll probably be a slightly more of an underdog feel, I guess, around Carrow Road, and therefore probably a willingness from the crowd to be bang on side regardless, unless it's not 4 or 5-0.
Well, yeah. I mean, that is fair comment. I think there is a realism around the place, but by the same token, Daniel touched on it today, having played Alex Neil's Preston, irrespective of how poor the points haul had been going into that game, the expectation is Norwich should be able to roll over at Preston. And you can say, with no disrespect, but it clearly is disrespectful on one level, because you're basically saying Norwich are a bigger club than Preston with better players, so you expect that to happen. Now with Leeds, as you rightly portrayed there, given where they are in the table at the minute, given the size of the club and the ambition they've clearly got as a board going out and getting Bielsa in, then I wouldn't portray it as underdog versus expected favourite. It's just a case of Leeds, if they came here and got a result tomorrow, I don't think you would say that's unexpected to a great degree. So maybe there's a bit of pressure off, but by the same token, I would expect Norwich, with the players they've got available, given the confidence from midweek, why can't they go and give it a good crack? I mean, Leeds, okay, I will reserve judgment, but I'm not seeing a Wolves there. I'm not seeing a team who are going to be good enough to run away with the division, however good this Bielsa is. So, I'm not particularly fazed or daunted by the prospect of Leeds coming to town. It's more about, and Farke was very clear on this pre-match midweek, it's more about Norwich. It's what Norwich do. It's how they approach the task. If they do that, then with a fair wind, you never know. And then if they get a positive result tomorrow, then it's game on for a small matter of Ipswich. Not even going to get into Cardiff because that's an irrelevance.
That's the spirit, most definitely is. At least we've got somewhere to stay, which is thankful, because it could be a long day anyway, but let's not worry about that. Get your comments and questions in, let us know where you're watching from, and also the state of the weather there, because we need to know if it's going to dry up here basically. And anything you want to ask us, we are here with you for the next 20 minutes or so. The one thing that was curious about, I was looking at the Leeds side, they played at Swansea, and actually the back four, they're all names you kind of recognise, but in a different position. Ayling playing at centre half, and Berardi was playing at centre half as well. Tom Pearce, who was good second half of last season, he was on the bench. The goalkeeper's made some mistakes I've seen in his time at the club. He didn't look much cop last year, and they've not really recruited a goalkeeper. So it's interesting, isn't it, that they are so early in the season, and I think a lot of people are looking at what they're doing and thinking, wow, magician Marcelo, and what they do. So, and also I guess high pressing, real intense game that they're playing. It's the third game in a week, and they had to go to Swansea in midweek, and Norwich is a fair old way to go too. So I'm just trying to rack up the excuses, get them in early.
Why not?
For Leeds,
although
obviously.
That'll go the other way. That will be potentially the other way if Leeds get the result, because they've had an extra day preparation, haven't they? Slash rest. I just, I'm a bit reticent to sort of jump on any bandwagon with them, because this time last season they started very well under the boy Christiansen, didn't they? And that unravelled in a big way, and that's kind of Leeds as a club in the last sort of ever since they dropped out of the Premier League. Obviously, huge financial issues going way back, but they always flattered to deceive a little bit for me. So I'll reserve judgment on whether he's the real deal and whether they're the real deal. But you can't argue what they've done so far. You know, the fact they come here unbeaten. I think he's the first Leeds manager ever to win his first 4 competitive fixtures. And as you say, he's clearly got a tune out of those players. So you know, I would say you would put Leeds as the favourites going into the game, but at the risk of repeating myself, it's not Wolves, is it? So, you know, let's bring it on.
Pad, it's part of our job. I think we're constantly repeating ourselves, but it's all part of
the
fun. Jason Webster waves and says 2-2 with a thumbs up, which of course is what it should have been a couple of years ago before Leeds went and got a winner in the last minute of injury time, which I think was the last time Louis Thompson started a championship game. So, and actually that is a discussion here in various places. Matt Loads, any ideas if Ben Godfrey is planning to be loaned out? Posting something very cryptic on Instagram the other day. I did see that. Yeah, I think he was just reminiscing about his time in Shrewsbury, but never say never. Well, and then Thomas Rooney says, how close is Ben Godfrey to starting? And I guess that is one of the discussion points off the back of Alex Tetty's efforts in midweek, and it's one of your first questions, wasn't it, to Daniel this afternoon? What do you reckon will happen? What did Daniel let on?
I don't think Tete will start. I think that's pretty clear for reasons stated. You know, a third game in less than a week or just over a week is a tall order. He looked very weary, very leggy, apart from the heroics at the end against Preston. So I just don't see that stacking up. I would think the fact Tribal didn't start might be with half an eye on playing him tomorrow, so I think Tribal will come in, and then it's just whether if he tweaks the shape, you then maybe take a Leitner out of the equation, or probably more likely Pookie, which some might find quite surprising, but it was just a throwaway line about how he referenced Pookie having had a heavy workload of late, and Rhodes as well, but I don't think he's going to be pulling Rhodes out of the firing line. So whether it's a Godfrey/Thompson who comes in for Pookie potentially, but no, Tete won't be involved from the start tomorrow. I just can't see that at all. It's
hard with Daniel. I don't know if he really fully trusts Ben or Louis yet, because I just think he could have put either in up until this point, and I mean he clearly likes playing Tribal and Leitner. And you know, there's nothing to say that Moritz won't end up being like one of two holders, as he did second half of last season a fair bit, didn't he? We had sort of Leitner and Tribal, Leitner and Tetty. So I'm not saying that's the right thing, but I've got half an eye on that might be what Daniel does.
I mean that's a fair analysis. Leitner is clearly the guy he feels is the one to set the tempo, build the play, and really pass through the thirds, which is clearly how Farke still wants his teams to play. Now he's had to be very pragmatic on occasion in the Championship. They are noticeably going a bit earlier I feel this season. That's probably with Hernandez in the side. And
Jordan too, I think he can hold the ball up a bit. Well, we didn't really see him at all on Wednesday, but
no, not midweek. We didn't see a lot of that.
No,
I thought he did look a bit leggy, and he was definitely second best to Preston centre backs midweek, but we'll afford him that one, given he has looked pretty potent, I thought, in many of the other games. But I mean, personally, I wouldn't play Leitner, but I think he will, because he clearly feels he's an integral part of what he's trying to do. And you know, he talked today about, you know, Leeds will come with a press, and you have to have solutions to beat the press and bypass the press, I think was his actual phrase. And obviously Leitner, with his passing ability, possibly can give you that, but so can Tribal. So could you get away with Tribal and then go for a few more legs in the middle of the park, because they're also quite combative, aren't they, across central areas, Leeds. So for me, I don't think it weakens Norwich midfield wise to throw a Godfrey or a Thompson into the mix and maybe take a Leitner or a Pookie out. But you know, we're not picking the team, so we'll see what he goes with tomorrow.
No, there's a very, very good point indeed. What else have we got here? Ollie Baines, I reckon we will give Tim Closer a new deal if he does stay around, or will he be off this transfer window? Surely we can't let him leave on a free, says Ollie Baines. I mean, I have to say, him leaving on a free, I think, is the most likely option. I can't see any option. It's very difficult, I think, for Norwich to sell Tim Closer this window. It might be different in January. Daniel's already made a point of how much he wants him around. And I guess any deal that's on the table might well be still there come the time he's out of contract. but they'd have to get a replacement in if they sold Tim.
Yeah.
Can you see anything happening this window, Paddy, or do you think that's going to be difficult?
Well, I mean, if it's down to Farke, then no, because he clearly he wants the guy involved. I mean, he couldn't have been more clearer in the last few days. You know, he feels he's been his best defender so far. He's most consistent. He's a leader in that group. He's also, I would imagine, a very good sounding board in terms of between the players and Farke and his coaching staff. So, for all those reasons, purely in a footballing sense, then no, he doesn't want him to go anywhere. But unfortunately, every club, but particularly Norwich now, the current cycle of development they're in, there's a financial dimension to every football decision. And financially, as you state there, he's out of contract in less than 12 months now. There clearly are talks and interest from Hanover. Latest line out of Germany there in the last 24 hours was that they've agreed personal terms with the guy himself. So that, if that is to be believed, that's how far down the path this has gone. But ultimately, it's Stuart Webber who will have the final decision, and if he reasons that it makes financial sense, then it'll happen in this window. And then he'll have to obviously deal with potentially a head coach who's not impressed with that decision on a footballing sense. If they don't go down this route, then it will roll on to January. But obviously, the bottom line is in January they won't be getting anywhere near the evaluation they obviously place on him now. So, you know, what do? Do you say, okay, we need him from a footballing perspective, we keep him in the building and we almost accept that the financial side of it is gone, or is it imperative they cash in? Probably isn't imperative given the summer they've already had with Maddison and Murphy and Watkins to a lesser extent. But by the same token, there's a depreciating value on that player, so you know, and he'll obviously be one of the highest earners in the team as well. That's another factor.
Yeah.
So there's still a few moving parts, I think, and really, I suppose we can't say definitively until this day next week when the window closes, and then we'll know if he's in the building, he's with us. If not, then But if he's not, then by the same token, you rightly point out, you've let Raggett go out on loan, you've let Franke go out on loan. Russell Martin isn't really featuring. I don't think you could go beyond Friday week with just Hanley, Zimmerman, and potentially Ben Godfrey. I think that would leave them very light. So if they are reaching a position where they decide financially we have to cash in here, then you would hope in the intervening week that they have an option lined up and they can bring one in. Which
could even be the delay. You never know, I suppose. And of course, their deadline day is Friday. We think it's midnight or 11 o'clock here, but it might be earlier. We're not entirely sure, to be honest, but it'll be there, and we'll of course have all the coverage that you would possibly need on Friday in what's going to be quite a busy week, Pat.
Yes, man.
Carl Clark, can we keep momentum up against Leeds on the Ball City? Yes, is the answer to that, Carl. Why not? St. John Cooper, please look at the Daniel Farke rap from Coop and Duck. It's just superb. It is very good. I recommend you go and have a look at that. Melvin Bryant, will Hanley be fit to play tomorrow, Pad?
Yeah, those chins recover very quickly.
Do you want it?
Slash shins.
Chin,
tin, bin, whatever. It's all the same, isn't it?
But, we're a bit more worried about his shin than his chin. If he'd got a smack round the face, we'd have probably thought he'd play tomorrow. I think
either way, I think shin injury, all flippancy aside, but the fact that he finished the game, I'd be frankly amazed if a rough, tough centre-back like Grant Hanley isn't available to. And why wouldn't he? Captain as well, captain leader. So he'll want to be certainly leading his troops out against Leeds. So I don't envisage that. And Pinto was the other one, came off midweek. More of the stomach cramps he's been suffering with sort of last week, 10 days. But Farke's sense today was he'd be okay as well. So and a bit of a positive news on Vrancic as well. Back training.
Just in time for a trip to Cardiff.
Have I missed something there?
Well, as in let's get into Cardiff. Quick, you're fit, Mario. Off you go.
All right, yeah.
Better.
Well, no, he did. I mean, he didn't rule out a potential surprise inclusion at Cardiff or even Ipswich, but certainly not tomorrow. But if he's back in training, then that's obviously another good positive step because he does offer. We talked a little bit earlier there about the more defensively minded midfield options at Farke's disposal. Well, there's another one who you could add to the creative midfield mix.
Spot on. Harvey Monk, hello Harvey. Can we safely say we won't see Nelson Oliveira in a Norwich shirt? I mean, I've still got this lovely idea of him being wheeled out at Cardiff because it's like, quick, we need some players. But I think that I may be jesting a little bit. But I mean, time is running out for him to get his move, isn't it? We're sort of a week now.
Yeah, it's a strange one, yeah, because I mean, you're not even really seeing or hearing any whispers or any gossip really around him. I mean, really, since he did that little bit of media in Portugal way back at the start of the summer, where he basically said, "I know my move will be sorted out," or "I know my next move," or whatever, or "my future will become clear." It's not exactly becoming clear that quickly, is it? So. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that would be an. I mean, we're talking about closer and where he's going to be, and we'll know by this time next week. I mean, if Oliveira is still in the building, not sure yet how that one plays out from that point then until January. I mean, you have to integrate him back in again, don't you?
You have to. What a waste of. I mean, colossal waste of money by that point. But I guess it depends on your principles and how stubborn people are. And Daniel has said in public repeatedly, "Look, if we need to do that, then that will happen." So
I mean, from the player's point of view as well, I know he's what is he, still mid-20s?
Yeah,
but he needs to be playing. I mean, it's absolutely what his career. He can't afford to be sat in the stiffs and not even. I mean, he's even training properly. That's the thing, if he's not really part of the group in a day-to-day scenario, if he's literally just doing some work on his own, then that is not preparing him for a potential move, because he would need to be of a level where he could go in and do a job for someone. So, purely if you're Nelson Oliveira, you want a resolution to this, because it's not in his interests, and let alone Norwich's interest, to have an asset again there, just basically. In the wilderness almost, putting his career on hold. I would find that a ridiculous situation if it's not resolved between now and next week.
Especially when you consider that actually having Nelson and then and Jordan Rhodes competing to be, there's a decent championship pedigree in that.
Well, I mean, let's be brutally honest about it. Setting aside the issues and the baggage maybe that comes with him, do you want him on the bench or Dennis Shrubeni? In a purely footballing sense, to influence or to alter a game. I know who I'd want on the bench. But, as I say, we'll see.
We will see indeed. Let's rattle through a few of these, shall we? Kerry Lord Boardman, you just chirp in if you want to, Ben. Backs to the wall, last 10 minutes and hold out for a draw is Kerry's guess in terms of Leeds. David McKenzie, 3 at the back tomorrow. He's watching from Stamford, Lincolnshire. Know it sort of well, do we? I don't know.
Yeah, occasionally been through that. Yeah. Nice part of the world.
Back 3?
I can't see it. I mean, I put that to him because obviously the success they had in the defining phase of the Preston game, Zimmerman. I mean, what I didn't appreciate it in real time. I've since seen the highlights, and that was some diagonal hit for Jamal. So yeah, I mean, you could see that, and that would then maybe allow them to release a Marshall Pinto on the right, Jamal on the left, maybe be a little bit more secure defensively, but. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel it's probably more set up for the 4 again tomorrow.
Yeah, I can see it being 4-2-3-1 personally, but we'll see. Might be wrong.
Could see that.
David Merrison, Buendia start tomorrow? Yes or no? I think sort of asked that of Daniel, and I think the answer is pretty much no.
Yeah,
he's not. He could start, but he wants to give him a bit of time, bend him in gently, and feels he could probably make an impact if he comes on while it's still tight. So the key will be to keep it tight until Emmy comes on, maybe. See how that goes. Let's have a go. So yeah, John Wilson asks about Nelson, Closer and Russ. Indeed, I mean, yeah, Russell Martin's another one who's going to need his future sorting. Rory Power, best of luck tomorrow, Norwich, against a rejuvenated Leeds. Tough game, so 110% effort across the team to compete, I suspect. Got to love 110%. Always good. Stephen Human says hello. Hello, Stephen. That's an interesting surname. Human. I like that. Ben Taylor. Think Todd Cantwell can step up this year. It didn't look as promising as I thought against Stevenage, even if he was stuck out wide. I mean, I know Dave's seen him play a lot for the under-23s. Dave Freezer, of course, and was conscious of the fact that Todd was out of position. Yeah, I don't see Todd really featuring at the moment. I guess he'll be a loan one. Surprised he hasn't gone out on loan already. But again, maybe Cardiff is the one. Get Cardiff out of the way, and you've still got 2 or 3 days to sort out any moves.
Well, I mean, I asked Farke this day last week about him and Max Aarons. Just in that sense, are you in a Godfrey scenario where they're close to the first team, but probably not close enough where they're going to feature regularly? So if that is the case, given the rules now in terms of loans, it has to be window to window. Is it better for their development if they go out and play some regular football? Cantwell's already had a taste of that, albeit in Holland. The reality is, again, I don't think it's in their interests for them to be parked here beyond the next Friday and then you're basically locking them in probably to the odd cup game until as long as they're in the competition, or then it's development football, because can realistically see a Cantwell edging out Buendia, Hernandez, Leitner, depending on where you want to see him deployed across midfield? No, can't see any of that. Can't see Aaron's now. Jamal's back, knocking him out at left back, and if you want to play him by all accounts his more natural position, right back, well, Pinto's still there. Marshall is an option. So no, I think it's in their interests. If they're not going to feature here, then they need to go and play some football, because they're at the minute too raw, too inexperienced to throw into the Championship.
Carl Ashton, 3 at the back and play Buendia and Buendia and Hernandez's strengths. Ben Aquilina, for a free signing. Pookie has been really good so far for City. 3 goals, 3 games carried. Hopefully he'll score tomorrow, which will be 4 out of 4. Yeah. I think rarefied air. I can't remember. There was a tweet from Norwich City Numbers. I can't remember off the top of my head, but indicating the fact that it's very rare. I remember that much. Ben goes on. Buendia also showed some really good skill on Wednesday. Was a positive presence. Him and Hernandez will be great wingers for City. Let's just hold out for September, shall we? By the way, I'm already wary of the Norwich City's October-November slump. I'm just hoping they've got enough points in the bag, because the last 2 seasons, always October-November. Anyway, Connor Southwell, I won't call you Southwell. Hello, Connor. Norwich to match Leeds in terms of formation tomorrow. Do you see any tactical tweaks to adapt to their pressing style? Which you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, didn't you, Pad? This idea that maybe they'll get it forward and try and beat the press that way. It was interesting how they sort of tried to change things against Preston, because at one point they sort of cleared out the middle and tried to go around it, and that didn't really work. And obviously it wasn't until they changed the actual formation that it did.
Yeah, and for me that took a little bit too long as well. I mean, you touched on the restlessness. I mean, round about the hour mark, that was, I think, for me, lapsing into a little bit of boiling frustration amongst many Norwich fans. They were getting a little bit tired of the predictable deep-lying passing movements, and Preston had counteracted them very, very straightforward with the defensive block. So I think it'll be interesting what we see in the first half, because you would imagine Leeds will be quite aggressive, so it might be a case that they just have to have a bit of a holding pattern, but thereafter you would like to think, if they're subject to them still being firmly in the game, of course, that he might be a bit more progressive. But to give him his due, I mean, it was fine margins is his favourite phrase at the minute, and it was fine margins, because that horrendous wayward pass from Tete, intercepted by Callum Robinson, ran on, cracked a shot against the underside of the bar, bounces down, comes out. Well, that goes the other side of the line. They probably don't get anything from that game, so we wouldn't be then talking about Farke's tactical wizardry, as it were, to change the shape. Then it'd be 1 point from 12 and the pressure's on. So fine margins indeed, but I just would like to see him be proactive, and to be fair, he was, throwing Buendia on when he did, I thought was a good move. Apart from anything else, it was a signal to the crowd that, look, we're now going to try and actively win this, and try and do something a little bit different. So that was good to see, and we'll need to see more of that moving forward. Yeah,
I've stored the Callum Robinson bit of good luck for the fact that Magoma smashed one just off the underside of the crossbar at Birmingham, and that, a couple of inches hits the bar, goes out, whatever. And I maintain if Norwich had got ahead against Birmingham, they would have won that game. So swings and roundabouts, as always. Lorne Smiber, Emmy is the master. Let's hope so. Oliver Dixon, what kind of football should we expect from Leeds? We've already talked about how he'll try to exploit it, but you said you're not really being that too impressed with them.
I've not seen them at all, mate, if I'm brutally honest. I've not watched 1 minute of Leeds, but purely from Bielsa's methodology, they press high, and then when they get it, they've obviously got some very good technical midfield players, so I think they'll be pretty slick in possession as well. And Roof, if he's leading the line, well, he's all hustle and bustle, he's got plenty of pace, so they can play him behind. So it looks like from afar that they have a little bit of everything, and clearly with Bielsa they'll be very defensively organised as well, albeit they did cough up 2 goals, didn't they, midweek. But I just think they will come here and full of confidence. They'll be on the front foot, and that actually, conversely, compared with Preston, who were quite happy to concede territory and possession and almost let Norwich pass themselves into cul-de-sacs. I think if Leeds come in and from the off try and proactively grab the game, then particularly with Hernandez on the pitch, that might just offer up a few more chances for Norwich to get in behind. And as you say, as always with these games, it'll hinge on who gets their noses in front, really, in terms of the dynamic and how it evolves from there, basically.
Yeah, if they're that expansive, most definitely. I mean, they blew Derby away earlier in the season, but it's interesting. You kind of think that this game could suit Norwich better than some of the others, especially if they do make the pitch quite big. I mean, Wolves were very good, but they did it from a kind of compact starting point, didn't they? And then just broke so well. Yeah. So, and I don't think they're like that necessarily. As you said, I think they're going to have the guys high up, and we'll see how Norwich can exploit that space. What else have we got here? Just finally, then we've got to wrap it up. We've been going quite a while, haven't we? Oliveira, long-term future looks worrying with lack of investment, having to sell players. Lengthy spell in the Championship, I think. That's the spirit, Ollie. Good stuff. What's wrong with that? I enjoyed that back in the 90s. 10 years in the Championship. What a time to be alive. Jez Davies, sick to the back teeth, here we go, of people slagging off Tetty. He showed what, although he did slag himself off, it must be said, he showed what he could do. Even a brief glimpse v Preston, admitted it wasn't his best of games. Unless you haven't watched Norwich for the past 5 years, and you'll know what his strength is. Needs a ball player next to him. He can't do both, which is an interesting point when Norwich do play a 4-1-4-1, and you're looking for basically a player who can do two things really well. And I always think with Tom, when he plays as that sole role, the problem is he gets beat. He sort of goes the wrong side of his man, and too often the opposition end up the wrong side of Tom Twybull, whereas you really need a proper screener or successfully breaking up play. So
all day long. I mean, and they proved it last season in the most fertile periods that they were the best two in that area of the pitch, because, as you rightly say there, you had the defensive protection and also the ability to set the play going the other way, and to basically pass their way up through the thirds rather than just too often, as the poster just says there, when Tetty's in possession, it can as easily go out of play as it can to a man in a yellow shirt, and that's not trying to be flippant. That's just not his game, is it? He's a destructive force rather than a creative force, with the odd hammer strike, obviously, as a caveat, that goes in the net rather than over the bar. But I mean, we saw. I thought. I mean, last week, Bramall Lane, I thought Tribal was very good there, in that position, but he had Tete around him. So, I don't know. Farke seems to be locked in a little bit to the 4-1-4-1 so far this season from the start of games. There might just be a case that the two does suit that group of players a bit better. The two in front of the back four, obviously. He did play.
It was pretty much a 4-2-4, a 4-2-3-1 at Birmingham, but that was with Tetty as the other holder. And I don't think it won't be Alex, I'm sure, on Saturday. So who that would be alongside Tom would be very interesting. Right, we're going to wrap that up now, I think. Thank you very much. And it's just about to stop raining. Thank you to Facebook for solving their thing with being able to see messages as well. That made life a lot easier. Me and Paddy will be at Carrow Road tomorrow, of course, for all the team news, build-up, live coverage and analysis of tomorrow's game against Leeds United. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction, Pad, don't worry, but you can see all Pad's preview stuff in the papers tomorrow, and of course online, and we'll be there with you, pinkun.com/live throughout the game. There'll also be some updates on Facebook during the game. If you haven't signed up for those, you can do that. Just visit the PinkUn page. I've now put the pressure on to in some way deliver some updates tomorrow, because we're a man down. Dave's going to watch it in the crowd, isn't he?
He is.
He's going to have a beer probably at half time and what have you.
Selfish
Dave. Anyway, me and Paddy will carry the work, don't worry, and we will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you very much, Pad.
Cheers,
thanks for all your time and questions, much appreciated, and enjoy your evenings.